for day 2. Feeling pumped. We had a big breakfast, packed our lunch, we're eating healthy, ready to go. We were talking about this on the way here. Sometimes what happens when you have a big stack, at least for me, coming back on day 2, I get too attached, let's just say that. I get too attached to having a big stack. And how tournaments work, I've come to find, it's like, it doesn't really matter if you have a huge chip stack like right after the bubble burst. My whole solution today is I'm gonna be focusing on every single hand, just take it one hand at a time. And
so as you can see, it's kind of hard to walk and talk and have people looking at you while you're filming and say something coherent. But what I was trying to say was that it's really few and far between that you have such a dream day 1 and you have such a giant chip stack coming into day 2 that it amps up your expectations, your hopes are up, you're already thinking about the final table, and you really don't want your head to be in that space. Yes, you can be more aggressive on the bubble and take advantage of people having to fold a lot and you not having to worry about it. But other than that, once the bubble bursts, you are all on an even playing field again. The money difference doesn't really matter again until essentially the final table. My attachment issues in the past have made me tighten up a lot, and it makes all the bad beats that much worse because you don't want to lose any chips. So you can see how it can affect your game a lot mentally. That's enough talking. Let's play poker. Let's jump right into day 2. Well, it's a good thing I decided to take it one hand at a time because I was getting a lot of garbage. For 2 hours, I had the exact opposite start to the day that you hope for when you come in with such a big chip stack. Folded, folded, folded. We finally made the money. We're in the money. Not a lot of action up until that point, but we did make the money within the first 2 hours of play. Okay, we finally find our spot when I open pocket queens under the gun to 13,000. Short stack and under the gun 2 shoves with ace jack offsuit, and we hold. So we bust out a player. He was a really good player too, by the way, and we get a little bit of momentum going our way. So things are moving quickly now, people busting left and right when under the gun shoves for 60,000, which was 10 big blinds at that point. I am in the hijack and look down at 2 queens once again. I ISO raise to 120. Everybody folds, so it's just me and under the gun, and he has king queen offsuit, so we're in a really great spot. That is until the 6 of diamonds hits the river, giving my opponent a 1-card flush to scoop the pot, gave us a little bit of a bad beat, and time to rebuild. We're 3 hours into the day and we finally get moved tables. I say finally because sometimes you just need to get moved to shake it up a little bit and feel like you're starting fresh. At this new table, I pick up Jack 10 suited and cutoff and make it 17K. Button calls, and the big blind's John Turner, also known as Pearl Jammer. He makes the call as well. So 3 ways. The flop is Jack 8-5, 2 spades and a club. So he hit top pair, but it's pretty squarely in the medium strength category, I would say. And when John checks it to me, I think the button only has 18 blinds or so to start the hand. John had around 20 to 25 blinds to start the hand. So I think it's fine to sort of play pot control, especially in a 3-way pot. So that's what I do. I check it over to the button, who pretty quickly checks back. The turn comes the king of diamonds, which is typically thought of as pre-flop raiser. In this case, that's me. That's typically a card that hits them. So I was pretty surprised to see John lead small here. He bet 18K into the 2 of us. I don't think I can consider folding just yet, so I make the call. The button doesn't take too long before jamming all in for 135K total. He barely gets the word all in out before John snap folds. Then it's on me. I have a decision. I get the full count. He does only have 135K. Unfortunately, I think I have to fold this jack because when somebody bets and somebody calls and he still goes all in, I have to think that he has a slightly stronger hand than I do. And if not, he probably has a lot of equity against what I have. So I make the fold, hoping for a better spot to come along soon. We don't have to wait too long for our moment. And a couple hands later, I'm in the low jack with pocket 5s and raise it up to 16K. Hijack calls. This is the same guy who just shoved on me. And the big blind, this is a different big blind, he comes along as well. So 3 ways. We see not great flop for us. Comes ace, queen, jack, 2 hearts and a spade. I could start bluffing with this hand, but I think hijack is gonna have a lot of this board and I just need to calm down, basically. So I check it over to him, he checks back. And what do you know? The turn is the beautiful bink, comes a 5. We smash the turn. Now we have a very hidden set. It's a really good feeling after 3 hours of sitting here with not much to show for it. We hit a set, and now I'm just hoping that somebody is slow playing something. Big blind checks it to me. Obviously, I'm going to bet this turn now because I don't want to get to a river with no more money in the pot. There's 60 out there, so I throw out a bet of 35,000. And to my surprise, both opponents make the call. Probably a lot of draws out there, a weak one pair with a straight draw, stuff like that. And now we have to cross our fingers for the blankest of blank rivers, which the dealer puts out. I couldn't have asked for a better river. He puts out the deuce of diamonds. Flush doesn't come in, straights don't come in. It is an absolute brick, the dream river for me. And when Big Blind checks it over to me, I have a interesting decision to make about my bet size. I obviously want to bet again, but the question is how much? I think that it looks really strong no matter what I do, and I remember in game thinking that. I look really strong betting into both of them once I got called on the turn. My logic at the time was, oh, I look strong either way, might as well go big. But I think that's pretty backwards, to be honest. I think maybe against recreational players like I think these two are, maybe not the big blind, but definitely the hijack had been doing some stuff. So I think that against those types of players, it might be okay to just go for it all. If you don't think they're going to dive too far into the hand and try to figure it out too methodically, I think it's okay to just go for it all and hope that they just have an emotional reaction and call it off thinking you're bluffing when you bet huge. But in reality, I don't know how many bluffs I have here, so when that's the case, probably shouldn't be betting so big. Probably need to take it down a notch. And if I was playing against tougher opponents who I knew were very capable hand readers, I would go a lot smaller. Just because of that, I don't think I have a lot of bluffs here. And if that's the case, gotta go smaller. Anyway, all that being said, I jammed it all in. This looks bigger than it is because the hijack only had 117K behind. So this is essentially 70% of the pot against the hijack. It is an all-in against the big blind because he had me covered. But to be honest, his range looks pretty weak here. When he checks twice and just overcalls instead of raising the turn, he's pretty capped and he's not likely to have a very strong hand. So I think if I'm gonna get a call from anyone, it's gonna be the hijack. Hijack makes the call. I'm doing cartwheels in my head. A big blind doesn't think too long before letting it go. I show my hand and it was sneaky. It was a surprise to most people. And before the hijack can get up and go, one of my table mates asked to see his hand. He flips it over and he had king jack of diamonds. That's got to be the most surprising part of the hand. What a call. If I was bluffing and he called me with that, I would be really sad. But happy that's not the case. We take down a huge pot and all of a sudden we're back to where we started the day with, and I am re-energized, revitalized, ready to win this tournament again. My table breaks yet again. Everybody is busting rapidly and my new table has a very familiar face. All right, first hand at this table, I get ace-10 suited in the hijack and raise it up to 22K. Big blind is the only one to make the call, and so we go heads up to a flop, which is 7-4 deuce rainbow. No spade. I just have 2 overs, but I'm going to just try to take it down right now. So when he checks it to me, I bet 20K. He thinks for quite a while, actually. He looks a little unsure, but then he finally puts out the call. The turn is a queen of hearts. He checks it to me, and this is a card that I could try to represent. I could go pretty massive and get him to fold a lot of things, but as you can see, my hand reaches out, checks, doesn't even think about it, and yeah, we see a river, which comes the king of clubs. This is gonna, again, be a card for me to bet, and to my surprise, the big blind pretty quickly puts out a bet of 30,000. Again, I don't really know what he's trying to rep. I should just maybe flick it in, to be honest, or raise, like do something besides pick up your chip and fold. I have no idea what I was doing in this hand, you guys. Don't know if you noticed, but I'm not happy with how I played it. I think I should have bet the turn, and once I don't do that, I think I should think a little longer in the river and maybe make a hero call. Even with ace high, I don't think this player pool is gonna be value betting a 7, pocket 6s, stuff like that. So, I mean, if he banked a king on the river, good for him, but I just think that ace high is probably good here. I think he's bluffing me. Anyway, I folded. Not happy with that one. So Jesse and I don't get involved in any hands together before we're breaking yet again. We're making the final 3 tables. Only 27 left now. All right, somehow we're both still in. 3 tables left. 27 people. The money is not a big deal right now. Up top is what we want. We want to make the final table.
Yeah.
So 18 more people to bust before we make the final table together. That'd be fun. Yeah. So for the next 2.5 hours or so, not a lot happens. It's just me trying to stay afloat, raising and maybe getting it through, but everybody has that kind of awkward stack size where it's between 15 to 30 big blinds. So everyone's treading lightly except for the big stacks who are just smashing at this table. In this hand, I have pocket eights and the low jack and about 20 big blinds to start this hand. I open it up to 32K, folds all the way around to the big blind, and he just rips it in. If I was doing this, let's say against the computer, right? If he had a pre-flop chart in front of him and was just following a chart like that, I would say this is an easy call. I mean, not easy. I'm still flipping a lot and could easily be out if I lose the flip, but it is a good enough hand to go with for 20 big blinds. But especially from the big blind, when people jam, I just feel like it's even stronger because they can always just flick in that extra 16K to call and see a flop. I think about it for a really long time. I tell him it's really close and I end up making the fold. Who knows what he had? He didn't show. This was definitely the closest spot I had in about 2.5 hours. All right, things are getting really exciting at this point. There's only 20 people left. The money jumps are starting to be a little bigger, but once again, my eyes are set on the final table because that's when the money jumps really matter and are really important. Anyway, Under the Gun opens to 40K. Button is a very accomplished tournament pro. He was at my beginning of the day table as well. He makes the call. I look down at King 9 of diamonds in the big blind. I have less than 20 big blinds at this point, so I just flick in the call. And so we go three ways. The flop is 9-8-8, 2 hearts and a diamond. Really nice flop for me. I check. Under the Gun checks as well. Button puts out a bet of 36,000. So there's a decision point here for me. I could raise, get it in with the button, or I can just call and see what develops on the turn. I chose to just call this time, and I thought button to be betting into the two of us might be a little bit stronger because he was taking stabs more liberally against the short stacks and not as much against the bigger stacks, trying not to tangle with the bigger stacks. So just something to note, but that is kind of the dynamic at the table. I call the 36K and Under the Gun comes along as well. So all three of us see the turn, which is the 10 of diamonds. Really interesting card now because I have a flush draw to go with my pair of nines, but still, again, I'm going to play in flow. So I check it. Under the Gun checks as well. So the button considers this action for a really long time. He finally sticks out a bet of 119,000 into 144. Hefty bet, especially in a three-way pot. He's, like I said, a good pro, so he is aware of my stack size. He understands that betting this large is essentially committing himself against me were I to jam. Again, there's another player to act behind me. So I really thought this was strong. I know that this looks like a gin card for me at first, but when I start to think about it, I was like, okay, what bluffs do I beat? And if I don't beat them now, what value hands do I have enough equity against that I can just get it in and be doing well enough against? So I'm starting to go through it in my mind. Okay, I'm not actually sure what kind of bluffs he has. I block diamonds, meaning that if he had a flush draw that he was semi-bluffing with, I block those cards. I have a king in my hand as well, so if he was just kind of getting after it with king queen or something like that I'm ahead of. So then he has things like ace 9, king 9, ace 8, king 8, maybe queen 8, then he has jack 10, queen 10, king 10, ace 10 of hearts especially. I just really didn't know what to do in this spot. I thought that if I get it in with him and I'm behind, I'm really behind. I have 9 outs maybe. I don't know. I went back and forth. This was the day. This was day 2 for me. It was a lot of close decisions. Nothing came easy. It was one of those days where I really had to just be focused and logic out everything. And then the thing that tipped me over the edge towards fold was having Under the Gun still behind me to act. I know it doesn't look maybe like he has too much, but there is still a guy to act behind me with some cards. So that does take away some of the equity, quote unquote, that's in my hand because now there's 3 of us in the pot. So after a lot of back and forth in my mind, I let it go. Under the Gun, snap folds. We'll never know what he had, and I'll never know if this was a good fold or just the worst decision of the tournament. And trust me, I was kicking myself afterwards for a while, I was kind of really harsh on myself because I was like, oh, maybe that was my shot. I still don't know. I really don't know what I should have done. You guys let me know what you would have done. Well, just like earlier, we redraw. Just as things are starting to get really tough and look dire, we redraw for final 18 players. That's 2 tables left, and look who's at my table. So my stack is down to a little over 200K, big blind at 16,000, and this is the last hand before dinner break. So I'm just hoping to either fold and regroup at dinner break or get it in, double up, and really have the momentum shift right before a long break. So in this hand, I pick up pocket sixes in the small blind, and I'm just watching every single person fold as it goes around the table, being more and more excited because the closer it gets to my turn, the more likely it is that this is going to be a jam, and I'm going to at least have some action and get some answers as to whether the run good is going to swing my way. Folds all the way to the button. And a guy who I've played a lot these past 2 days in this tournament opens to 35,000. I believe he's mostly a cash player. I have sixes. I'm in the small blind. I have 12 bigs. I'm all in. Big blind gets out of there, and the button immediately is like,
God, I wish I knew how to play tournaments.
And he thought about it. He finally makes the call. We got ourselves a pot. Let's see if we're going to win a flip or if we're heading home. When he flips over his hand, he has Jack 10 of clubs. Well, let's see how it runs out. On the flop we hold, it comes Queen 7-7 rainbow. The turn is another 7, still holding. And the river, dagger to my soul, comes a Jack of diamonds. He pairs up on the end, and that is how you lose a flip in a very important spot. Feeling not great. And yeah, I busted the tournament. 18th place. Such a bittersweet place to get. Hey, at least we got Jesse in there. It's always a nice backup plan to go commiserate by watching your fiance take it down. That would be really nice. I really don't think I played my best today. I think I had a lot of tough spots. I was in for 1,700, bought into this tournament for 1,700, cashed in 18th place for 7,092 for a profit of $5,392. The only thing better than running deep in a tournament is looking over and having, you know, your person be there with you every step of the way. So that was really cool. I know that tomorrow I'm gonna feel fired up about this, but right now I'm feeling a little, my analytical brain is going off. Like, did I play every spot the way I wish I would have? And that's for tomorrow. I'm gonna try to let that go, because those are the things that I do in between tournaments. As we got deeper, down to 3 tables, it got a little more serious. Like, you could feel it, that people were really, they had their milestones that they wanted to make. Like, there's certain people you can tell they're really trying to wait out that pay jump, or even if it's like a small, relatively insignificant pay jump. Those little things that you can really pick up on when you're paying a lot more attention. Overall, experience was really good. Oh, that was really fun, where a couple of people came up and introduced themselves to me. They were playing the little cash games on the side. They came over and were rooting me on. So I had like a kind of live rail from people who watch the vlogs. So that was really cool. Shout out to Chris and Monty, who introduced himself to me. We're getting closer. We're inching our way to a really big score. It's gonna be exciting when it happens. Let me tell you, I was close today. But for now, that's all I got for you. Jesse went on to take 8th place for a little over 16,000. Not a bad weekend for the household, I gotta say. And next time we are definitely going deeper, much bigger scores, and I cannot wait to show you guys how it all went down.